start by showing you around the data we're going to be utilizing. And if any of you have been around Microsoft products for a while, you know about the Contoso Sales Database. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to go into Microsoft Access for a few moments here, show you around this database. I've renamed a couple tables to keep them simple. We have our channel table, and this channel table has just 4 channels in it: online, catalog, store, and reseller. So this database, Contoso Sales, is about sales, lots of sales. And we're going to analyze this data, produce some amazing visuals, and then we're going to publish these visuals to Power BI on the web, and then we're going to publish those reports to you, and you're all going to be able to see the amazing results virtually instantly on your computer. You're going to love it. So there's our channel table. Very simple, very basic. We also have a sales table. And remember, there was 4 channels, but let's take a look at how many sales we have in this database. Well, if you look carefully, you can see there's 3.9 million items in this database, in this Access database. Power BI is not limited to only gathering Access data. You can get data from Excel, Access, SQL, CSV files. You can get the data from a text file, from all different sources. Today we're going to be concentrating on 2 sources: Microsoft Access and Microsoft Excel. Very common sources for data, but Power BI, as you'll see in a few minutes, is not limited to that. Hey, let's look at this date right here. This date in the Access database doesn't look like a date, does it? It's been a little messed up, and we might have to deal with that with our Power BI. We're going to show you how not only Power BI allows you to visualize your data, but also clean it up. Helps you to normalize the data and make it right for reporting. We'll show you how to do that as well, because a lot of us don't have access to the database directly to get clean data. We get what we get, and then we've got to clean it up. We're going to show you how to do that. And also there's a products table, and you'll see the products table will play a role, especially the brand name in the products table. And if you look down below, we have 2,517 different products. So now that we know our data at least a little bit, we'll close out of the database for now, and let's go look at one more data set. Inside the sales info database, it's an Access file. I'd like to show you that we have manager information in this, this Excel file, and this is going to play a role in our relationships with our data. So here we are. We've got data all over the place. We've got data in Access, 3 different tables. We've got data in Excel, 1 table. And like I said, data can come from anywhere and everywhere. But we've only got so much time today, and we're going to concentrate on just those 2 sources of data. So we're going to start by getting into Power BI, and you'll notice on my desktop I've got the Power BI desktop icon. If you don't have Power BI yet, you can download it on the web. If you go to Microsoft.com or just do a search on Google, you'll find Power BI, and you can actually download the application. So while the application is loading, oh, there it is already, you'll notice that Power BI comes with a nice welcome screen. We know we're welcome, but I'm going to go ahead and exit right on out of there and introduce you to the Power BI screen briefly. Just a real brief overview. You've got a ribbon of commands, very nice, only a couple ribbon tabs, a couple of views over here to choose from, and our visuals that we can pick from over here. We're going to spend some time over on the right-hand side picking some amazing visuals, allowing us to then eventually publish our amazing, stunning reports to the web for others to be able to consume. So why don't we start by getting the data into our environment. On the upper left side of the screen, you'll notice there's a Get Data button. I'll click on the Get Data button, and let's start with our Access data. So I'll click on More, slide on down here to Access, but like I said, there's a lot of places we can get our data from. Let's just scroll through this list for a moment. You see there's Access and SQL, MySQL, Azure, SharePoint lists, Facebook. Yep, there's a lot of data in Facebook on your account, and you can analyze that data with Power BI. ODBC, MailChimp, Microsoft is really plugging in a lot of data connections here for us to utilize. But let's go back to where we were going to go to begin with, back to the Access database. I'll choose Access, we'll click on Connect. I'll choose the database we just explored a little bit in Access, open it up, and you'll notice once I open it, Power BI will actually connect into the Access database and say, hey Tom, here's all the tables that are in that database. Pick the ones you'd like. Now, if I pick the 3 I want right now, that's great. If I failed to pick one, and I decided I need it later, I can always come back and get it later. But I'm going to go ahead and select all three of them now, load them in, and you'll notice while it's loading, it'll actually start trudging through all this data. And you remember with Microsoft Access, we can store millions of records. In a SQL database, millions and millions and millions of records. What's one of the problems with Excel? Well, if you have a lot of data, Excel can only hold a little over 1 million records. So Power BI is not limited to a subset of records like Excel. Power BI can pull it all in. Now that it's all already located here, and as you can see, there's our sales table, the products table, and the channel table over there on the right-hand side. They've all been entered in and ready to go, but we need one more table, if you remember, the table called managers from that Excel file. So let's go back up to the get data. I'm going to get data from Excel, and there's that sales info file I was looking for. We'll choose open. There's the table I created with my managers. It gives me a really nice little preview to let me know that I've selected the right table. And I'll click on load down at the bottom. Now, all four of the tables that I'm interested in using are here. And remember, if you need more data later on, you can always go get it and add it into the model. Let's look over on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll notice there's three views. Right now I'm on the visuals view. There's also the data set view and then the relationships view. Since I've got four tables, I'm going to need to ensure that I have all my relationships set up. So if you're not a database person, don't worry about it. You can learn more about databases and how to set up these relationships when you come back to our Power BI Bootcamp class. And we also offer Access classes where we learn how to build databases, and Excel Power BI classes as well. So lots of opportunities for you to learn more about this database connectivity. But let's come over here to the relationships button, and you'll notice that we've got relationships automatically set up here between channel and sales based on the channel key. Remember, we had 4 channels and over almost 4 million sales. And then between sales and products, we have a connection at the product key, and you can see how that lights up when I hover my mouse over that. But what's going on with this managers? Why did it not automatically connect? You might be thinking, well, because it's an Excel file trying to connect to Access. That's really not what happened here. What happened is the field names don't match, and it wasn't able to make that connection automatically. So I know that my database is going to require me to connect my manager ID here in my channels table with the managers table, and you'll notice the field here is simply called ID. So I'm going to have to make that connection myself. There's a couple ways to do so, but we're going to do it the easy way. I'm going to grab the field, drag it on over, drop it on the ID field, and automatically we get that boom boom, we get that connection, and we're ready to roll. Let's confirm that we've got good connections. Yep, there it is, highlights that. There, we are set with our relationships. So we're going to go back and look at our data sets now that we brought over. There's the channel data set, there's the manager's data set, the product data set, and of course the huge sales data set, almost 4 million records in here. Now, if all the data were ready and in fine shape, we could start building visuals right now, but there are a few issues with our data. Remember the date I showed you earlier? It was malformed, not in very good shape. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes, but for right now, why don't we build a quick visual? Let's get some success right away. We've uploaded the data. Now we're going to build a nice looking visual. Look at all the visual choices we have over here listed under the visualizations choice. Plenty to choose from. Bar charts and column charts and pie charts, maps, matrix, tables, gauges, donut charts, my favorite for sure, the donut charts. And then also we have the ... which allows us later on to import custom visuals. And you can download these custom visuals from the Microsoft website. Let's check it out right now. I'll click on Import Custom Visual. We'll click on the Import button, and you'll notice I've got a hierarchical slicer that I downloaded from the Microsoft site. There's a bunch of visuals that you can choose from, but there's only one that I've downloaded so far, and you'll notice when I click it, boom, there it shows up right there. So if the visuals that you have from Microsoft are not enough for you, you can always download more. So now, let's, like I said, build ourselves our first visual. Let's start with a chart. I'll click on the chart. It's not loaded with any data yet, but you can see that I can grab it, move it around, position it where I want on this report. And that's what we're looking at right now, a Power BI report. Let's add some data to this chart. We'll start by coming over to the channel and choosing Manager ID, and we'll put that in the axes. And then we're going to go down here to sales, and we'll take our sales amount, and we'll put that in, let's see, how about the value box? And right away, we can see all 8 of the managers, but only 4 of them have data. Now remember earlier, we set up a relationship between the managers from the Excel file and the data in the channel. I would like to see the manager's name. I don't really want to see simply the manager's number. So let's take the manager ID out, and instead let's put the manager name in. And since we have a relationship, it automatically knows how to take care of that for us. And there are only 4 managers that are involved with sales. The other 4 managers are not sales related. Power BI through database relationships picks that up, takes care of business for us. We're not going to spend too much time making these visuals look perfect today. I've got so much to show you. I want to show you the function here, but we can modify the visual by sizing it, moving it, and we can also slide on over here to the right-hand side, and you'll notice there's a paint roller. That's our formatting tool. We click on the paint roller, and you can see there's plenty of things we can format associated with the selected chart. For instance, the data colors, if we want to go something a little more rich, instead of the blue, we can go something a bit more rich. How about the purple? So it's very customizable, just like an Excel database or an Excel chart or an Access chart. We can also modify this by turning on or off certain components like data labels. And you can see if I turn on my data labels, these values are pretty high. They're in the billions. And this number doesn't look all that friendly. So let's at least concentrate on getting the number to look a little bit more friendly. How about we find our way over to the data labels, and you'll notice it's displaying the data labels in an automatic fashion. So Power BI is picking up on these huge numbers and trying to make them look a little nicer for me. But as much as I appreciate their help, I'm going to say I don't want any help. So I'll choose none, and now the data label is even bigger and even messier. So we're going to have to go back to our model and do some transformation of our data. We'll slide back over here to the far left-hand side, and we'll click on our data model. Switch over here to the sales sheet, and you'll notice I've got some columns, specifically the one called sales amount. That's one we're dealing with. By clicking on the sales amount column, and by the way, you can click wherever you want in the column. This is a database. It's not an Excel spreadsheet. We can slide up here to the modeling tab, and let's go ahead and change this to a currency with 0 decimal places. Who needs decimal places when we're talking billions of dollars, right? So we're going to slide back over to our model, and look how nice those data labels look. Just a simple switch in the modeling tab. So we're looking good here. We've got ourselves a chart, purple. Maybe purple is a good color. We could always change it later on. But let's continue on and work with another data model. I'm interested this time in a feature called a table. I'll slap the table in there as we just saw, and we'll slide it over, make it a little bit bigger. I'll probably wind up sizing it later. But with the table, you can see it's asking for specific fields to represent in the table. So watch how Power BI automatically knows how to do aggregates, how to automatically create measures for me to summarize all of this data. Yep, there's a lot of data here. There's over 3.9 million rows of data here. So we're going to make this simplified using what some of you might see or know as a pivot table. Power BI does amazing pivot tables for us. So let's check it out. I'll put some values over here in this grid for our table. How about if we put our manager name, and then we'll slide on down here to sales, and we'll put our sales amount in there as well. Yeah, let's see now. We have the manager name and the sales amount. How about if we try something like this? Well, I don't like that either. Let's try something like this here. Now you can see automatically it starts recompiling the data for us as we start loading it with certain values. It's pretty slick and easy to use all these different visuals. But let's say I decided, you know what, I don't want this visual after all. Simply hit the delete key and it goes away. Let's continue on with a couple more visuals that we might want to create. I'm interested in creating a nice big number right here to represent our global sales. So why don't we try one of these features here? This one's called a card. Now the card's a great tool because it will represent a single number for us in a nice graphical way. Now you might be thinking, Tom, what can I do with all this great visuals of all this data? Well, one, you can see I can start analyzing it right now. So it's not just a visual to present. I can use this for data analysis right now. I see there's 12 billion in sales. Let's configure this a little differently so that we can see our data labels in a bit more global fashion. There we go. Our sales amount looking great. That's our global sales amount. But you know what? I know this data well enough that the sales amount isn't quite the big picture. We had sales amount, we also had discount amounts, and also in this data set we have return amount. So we have these big sales, but we didn't use all that money for revenue. We had to return a few items and we had a few discounted items. So we're going to have to build ourselves a measure. So we're going to start at the top left side of our screen here, and you'll notice in the modeling tab there's a choice called new measure and a choice called new column. Let's check out the new measure first. I'll click on the new measure button, and right away Power BI says, hey, let's go ahead and give this thing a name and then set it equal to something. So we're going to give it a name. How about we call it net total sales? And yes, spaces are perfectly fine in the names of our Power BI fields. And once we say net total sales, now just to keep in mind, all of these measures are going to be aggregates. So if we're using a measure, we're always going to do something like a sum or an average or a high, max, or low, min, something that aggregates and pulls things together, and sum is the one we're going to do right now. So we're going to choose to type in the word sum, open up a parenthesis, and I'd like to sum, let's see, what would I like to sum? I'd like to sum the total of sales amount, and then I'm going to subtract from that the sum of the discount amount, and then from that I'm going to subtract the sum of the return amount. Now this is a really important characteristic of Power BI. These aggregates or these measures allow us to do some amazing things with our display of the numbers. So upon hitting the enter key, I'm going to now have a new measure, and if you look over here, there's a slightly different graphic from the standard fields. Let's zoom in and take a look. So the standard fields, the text-based fields, the numeric-based fields, and now our new added measure. Let's go back to the visualizations, and we're going to add not just our grand total sales amount, but let's take this thing, we've already configured it, I've made the font large, or I've done what I want with it. I'll just copy it and paste it so I don't have to recreate the wheel. Slide that over there, and now I will take my net sales, slide it in instead, and you can see that the net sales is lower than the standard sales amount, but it doesn't look so nice. Remember how we did that? We go over here to the roller, we'll click on the data label, and we'll set it to none on the display. And the font size, let's see what we got in the auto on this. We'll go 0. There it is. Perfect. That looks great. Now that we've got some great looking visuals here from all these numbers, perhaps I, or maybe my boss, or someone would like to slice and dice this to see the numbers in a more focused way. Well, that's another one of our visuals over here. Can you see the visual with the funnel? It's called a slicer or a filter. I'm going to go ahead and click on this slicer, and you'll notice once the slicer appears, I can now drag a field into the slicer to slice and dice this data. So I'm interested in slicing by year, by quarter, maybe even by month, and definitely by product brand. Let's start with product brand. So we'll come over here to our products. Remember, all these tables are related, so we can use them interchangeably as if they were one big table. So let's take the product brand name, put it in to the field for the filter, and that looks great. Now watch how nicely interactive this is. I click on Contoso, automatically reconfigures the whole data set and all the graphics, and they adjust. Let's check out Northwind. AdventureWorks. And if I turn it off, it all goes back right to where it was. But I've got an issue. I would like to also filter by year or by quarter, and maybe even by month. But if we go look at our data set, we don't have a month, date, and year field to choose from. So we're going to have to build some functions. And now I'm going to introduce you to what is called DAX functions. Now, if you'd like to learn more about DAX functions, and trust me, you will after you see what I'm about to show you. And by the way, we've already built one DAX function. That sum function is a DAX function. DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions. I guess it would be DAE if you wanted to spell it out, expressions, but DAX sounds cooler, right? So DAX, Data Analysis Expressions, look it up. You'll learn so much in a very short period of time about what DAX functions can do for you, but we would love you to come back to our Power BI Bootcamp, and also we're offering a DAX Day, where we're going to learn how to build DAX functions and really take advantage of this powerful language. So let's go ahead and clean up our date field and take a look at this date field. It's a disaster. It's actually came over to me as year, month, day, but all shoved together. I can't treat this like much, so I'm going to have to build a new column. And when I click on new column, it asks me to name it. Let's call it sales date. And we're going to set the sales date equal to a formula, a DAX function that will automatically extract the year, the month, and the day from this messed up date. Let's check it out. We'll start with a function called date. And once we build the date function, notice real quickly it's asking for a year, month, and day. So all I have to do is somehow figure out a way to take this data and extract the first 4 characters for the year, the next 2 characters for the month, and then the last 2 characters for the day, and turn it all into a functional date. I don't know what you're thinking right now, but a lot of us have to clean up our data. We get all this great data, but sometimes it's a mess, like this date column. So we're going to clean it up right now with a function called mid. Mid allows us to look into the middle of a string of characters, such as this date right here in the sales table. And I'd like to look at characters 1 through 4 initially, and then it wants the month, so we're going to do another mid function. And if you're thinking this is cool, but I'm going way too fast for you to learn, that's the idea. We want you to come back to class so that you can really learn this thoroughly with practice and good exercises. So let's go ahead and start this one on 5, and we'll go over to 2, 5th character, and we want 2 characters. And then finally we'll do another mid, and we'll look for the last 2 characters, the last 2 items, which is the, let's see, where are we at? We're on character number 7, and we need 2 characters from there. And I think we're all set. We hit the enter key, and now we're going to get a new column that makes the date look a little better. Notice how it just trudged through 4 million records that quickly. Microsoft's done a great job with this Power BI. I don't like the way it looks, so we're going to click on that column. We'll slide over here to our format, and we'll format this thing to look a little nicer. How about if we choose a month, day, year format like so? Cleans it up beautifully. Ah, perfect. Then we got 2 more columns to add in. I want to be able to filter by year, and I also want to be able to filter by quarter. So let's build a couple more new columns. Now, of course, we can use some of the standard Excel access-based functions. I could show those to you, but I'd like to show you some of the new stuff, DAX functions that are going to be a big part of your Power BI life. So let's go ahead and put in sales year here, and we're going to find the sales year equal to the sales date, which we just recreated over here. Watch this. This is a DAX function. I'm going to type in a period to tell it to extend this definition, and I'm going to tell it, let's see, I want it to show me the year. Hit the enter key, and I've got a new column over at the end which extracted the year from the date and put it right there. Is that cool or what? Let's go ahead and get the quarter now. Why not? So let's do another new column, and I think you'll get the idea. Well, we can skip the month. But I'll do the next one is my sales quarter, and we're going to make that equal to the sales date dot. Well, would you look at that? It's right there, built right into DAX. So I'll do dot quarter, and automatically it'll create the column for me. And at this point now, look at the magic, everybody. We've got the sales date, which came from a really messy date. We've got the sales year, and now we have the sales quarter. All of this data came to me in a mess. I'm cleaning it up, and I'm going to be able to create amazing, stunning visuals from it. So now let's go back to our visual, and let's add another one of these cards, or excuse me, one of these filters. So I'll click on this filter here, and you'll notice now we've got our new fields. Let's see, where are they? There they are, way down below. Sorry about that. We've got our new columns, one called sales date, one called sales quarter, one called sales year, which allows me now to filter by these items to produce better analysis of my data, quick analysis, and I don't even have to be a genius with Excel and all the formulas. That's what DAX functions are all about. Just amazing tools. So let's go ahead and choose year. Gorgeous. Let's go ahead and do that again. And let's go ahead and choose, let's see, quarter this time. Slide it up into the field box. Beautiful. Let's see how these filters now work for us. Are you ready for the excitement? Hold on to your seats. Here we go. We've got the brand name, we've got the sales quarter, and let's put the sales year right between the two. And now, very quickly, without all that much effort, I can now filter my stunning visual by year. Look at that. By quarter, I can analyze my data very, very quickly. And remember, we're trudging through 4 million records right now, and Power BI is giving me this update that quickly. Can you imagine doing something like this in Excel? Although doable up to 1 million records, not quite doable like this, huh? So now I've got a small problem. I want to show you one more DAX function, and then we're going to take this and we're going to publish this to the web and make it visible for everybody to be able to see and use. I've got one more small problem though. When I filter, as much as I want to see the data filtered here in my chart and then the data filtered here as well, I would still like to see the grand total. I want to be able to compare the grand totals to what I filtered so I can see the difference and maybe see how big of the piece of pie it really is. But you've noticed that when I filter, my totals are filtering as well. Let's get prepared. I'm going to take this and duplicate it, copy, paste. We'll move it on down in preparation for where we're going with this. There's our net total sales. We're going to go ahead and copy, paste this one, slide it on down. There's our gross sales. And both of these are going to adjust automatically when I filter, but I want these two to stand pat. I don't want them to adjust. Sounds easy? It is when you know where to go shopping. What we need to do is create a DAX function that basically ignores filters. A DAX function that says, you know what, I'm not complying to your filters. I'm going to always look at the full data set. So let's go build ourselves a DAX function. This time, yet another measure, because we're going to be taking things and collecting them together. So let's go to the measures, start a new measure, and we're going to call this new measure total gross sales equals. Now the measure we're going to create is going to be based on a DAX function called calculate. Now when we build a calculate function, we have the opportunity to build any kind of aggregate into the calculate function, such as a sum. And remember, all of your measures will be aggregates of some sort. So I'd like to sum the sales amount. That's good. Sum the sales amount. And if I just end it like that, I will get a sum of the sales amount. But the cool thing about the calculate function is when I type in a comma, I have the opportunity to apply a filter. Now here's an interesting thing. When you apply a filter, you think about this, don't you? Smaller, smaller, smaller. That's what filters do. There's also a reverse filter index that says, whatever's filtered, ignore it and show me all. I guess it's kind of like a filter, isn't it? It's called all. So we're going to choose the all filter. And in this context now, what I'm looking for is all of the years, all of the quarters, and all of the products. Let's start with the year first. So we'll do our sales, and let's see if we can find the sales year. Where did the sales year come from? Remember that? We created that field knowing that we were going to need it for filtering and for this type of aggregate. So we're going to say, okay, for that filter, ignore it if it's filtered. We want to see all of them, comma, let's do another all. I know we're going to need to come back here anyways, so we're going to say all of the sales quarter. In case that's filtered, we want to see them all. And then finally, we'll do one more filter with all, and we're going to say sales, and this time we're going to do sales year. But we already did year. Sorry about that. Let's do product brand. This is going to be our product brand. Got ahead of myself there. Great. We close that parenthesis, and then we close the final parenthesis. Let's see, just like Excel, we open two parentheses here, we open two there, we open two there, and we open two there, and then we open the top one, we hit the enter key, and in it goes. Our measure's been created perfectly. Let's go use this measure now for our global sales. Remember the global sales here when we filtered, it was changing. What did I not want it to do? I did not want this to change, although I do want this to change. So I need to replace the field that I used, sales amount, with our new measure. And as you can see, we've got a new measure here called total gross sales. Let's take that up and replace the sales amount. And now notice when I filter, that amount is ignoring all of my filters. Isn't that great? Very cool stuff. So this is what Power BI is all about. Taking data, massaging it, we call it modeling, relating it together, producing measures and columns, cleaning things up, producing stunning visuals. And now we'll wrap this thing up by showing you how to take all this, put it up in the cloud, and share it with whomever would like to see it. So let's go ahead and do that next. I can't leave this looking like this though, can I? So I need to come over here. We'll choose our data labels. We'll tell it, don't do any display configurations, but do put in only 0 decimal places. It looks great. Now, of course, at this point, we need to save our work. So I'll go ahead and save, just like any other Microsoft product. We save the file. We'll call this the Power BI demo. Let's call it Power BI demo for my friends. We'll save this file, and now it's going to save the file as a Power BI document on my desktop. And then finally, over here on my Home tab, I'm going to publish this up to the web so all of you can see this report. As long as you have the right URL, you'll be able to see the report. So let's click on Publish. It's going to ask me where I'd like to publish this. I'm going to publish this up on the Power BI demo. And you can see I'm logged in as myself with Office 365. All your products register with whomever's logged in so that you can take advantage of all these great tools. So I'm going to select that, and it's going to start publishing to the Power BI. And while it's publishing, let's go over to the web real quick and go to www.learnit.com. Don't forget who's showing you all this great stuff today. Learnit and Tom. We're working together here to show you some amazing things. And when you go to learnit.com, there's our deal, Power BI Bootcamp, 55% off. If you want to be able to create stunning visuals in a short period of time, not only am I showing you how to do it, I'm actually doing it. If I was doing this without having to explain it all to you, I could have had all this done in 10 minutes. So once you get good at it, you'll be good at it, and you'll be able to produce reports quickly. So if you click on the Power BI slider, It's all the information about Power BI that you need to know. And you see the next class is coming up on November 24th, 55% off, and we have until the 4th to sign up. The 29th, thank you, November 29th. And we have until the 4th to sign up at this price. And the next one coming up is going to be on January 23rd. And so don't miss this one, though. We look forward to seeing you all in the Power BI Bootcamp session. Okay, so it says it's been uploaded. Let's go take a look. And by the way, I'm not going to take you through this link. Very convenient. I can just click there. It'll take me online and show me the Power BI. I am going to take you there the long way because I want you to see how to get there. See how easy Microsoft makes this. So I'll go to my browser. We'll slide on over to my Office account, Office 365. I'll get online. I'll go ahead and sign in right there. And all of you have different ways of signing in. Microsoft gives us probably 10 ways to sign in. So let's go ahead and type in my email address here, tom@learnit.com. Put in a password, and we'll sign in. And you'll notice on the upper left side of the screen, the ever popular, always exciting waffle. And on the waffle, you'll see I have my Power BI icon. We'll go into Power BI, and right up here on the menu, you'll notice I've got my workspaces. And if you recall, I published this one to my Power BI demo workspace. And when I click on it, we'll choose the one Power BI demo for my friends. See, there it is, waiting for me. And it looks great. And it will actually function here as well. And if you look into this a little further, you'll find that you can actually do some work here and create more visuals and really do up your Power BI even without Power BI Desktop. But my goal right now for the last 5 minutes of this session is to show you how I can take this and share it with all of you so you have access to it, so you can see these visuals. What data analyst, what boss, what business owner wouldn't want to be able to take all their data and display it in meaningful ways so people can quickly and easily make better business decisions? Well, let me show you how easy it is. I'll click on File, and I'll choose Publish to Web. Now, there's a couple options once I click on Publish to Web. I can take a URL and send it to anybody via email, put it as a hyperlink on a web page, whatever I want. And also, if I'm using HTML, SharePoint, I can take this iframe and display it on a web page in a permanent way. I'm going to take this URL and copy it. Control-C. And up on a browser window, I can simply paste in that URL. Oh, that's a monster. Look at how long that URL is. In a moment, we're going to put that in the chat window for you, and you'll be able to go and look at this report. Not only will you be able to look at it, you'll actually be able to use the filter buttons as I'm doing right now. Interested? So I'm going to take this URL right now, I'll copy it, I'll take it over to the chat window, and you know what? I don't want to paste in this huge URL for you. I'm going to, but I'm also going to paste in a shorter URL, if you don't mind. Let's take a quick trip over here. Not all of you will want to use tinyurl.com, but I'm going to use it right now for those of you who don't want to click on that big old link. So I've just made my URL a tiny URL, and I could actually read it to you if I wanted to. It's so short. There's the tiny URL. Feel free to click on it. And I'd like to hear from you now in the chat window. After you click on that link, tell me if you're able to click and use the filters from our amazing Power BI demonstration. Why don't you go ahead and start chatting it up. Let me know that it's working for you. I'm really curious. Yes, Mary says yes. Awesome. Isn't it awesome? It's working, and it wasn't hard. All you've got to do is build yourself a good data set. Model it in Power BI, create yourself some visuals, and publish it to the web. Awesome. We have about 4 minutes left of our session. It's great to see everybody, And there's Damon, our CEO.
Look at all the great chats. Thanks,
Great
Big
chat.
Tom. You're the best.
You're welcome. And we look forward to seeing you in our Power BI Bootcamp. 4 days of excitement, just like what you saw here, only obviously much more structured, slower, practice time, and we've got so much to share with you. There's so much available here. And you know what? You might think, I don't have Power BI. What am I going to do? Well, you can download it with your Office 365 account. And if you don't have the ability to download it, check with your IT, show them what you can do, and say, I want to do that too. And no doubt you'll win them over. Awesome. So let's take a look at Power BI on the web now, real briefly. See, here I am in my browser. Browser, Power BI? Yes, even though Power BI Desktop is not available on your Mac, it's not available on every single computer you go to. That's the desktop. That's what I've been showing you. But right here, I've got Power BI through my web browser, through my account. And you'll notice when I click on the Edit Report button here, I can actually get in and customize this report. I can move things around. I can size them. And if I need to and want to, I can actually add yet another visual to this report. Really, right here on the web, you got it. Let's go ahead and add another page to this report. Page number 2. In this case, how about one of these great little gauges? So I've got my gauge. Let's put our sales in there. Remember the global sales, our total gross sales. We'll slap it in there for the value. And of course, that number's a bit large, right? So we'll go over here and we'll format that number to look a little nicer. And 0 decimal places. And we have the call out value. 0 decimal places. Looks a little nicer. There it is. Looks great. And you can see that we've gone a stunning visual happening almost instantaneously. And if any of you want to go back and refresh that link I sent to you, you may or may not see the results or the changes instantly. In fact, once I save my report, it's now available for you to refresh and see all this updated data. But there can be a delay. Microsoft says the delay can be up to an hour. I usually see the delay within maybe up to a minute to 5 minutes. But once you make a change here, everybody who has that URL, everybody who has that link, bam, they're seeing the latest and greatest stunning visuals that you've created. Come back to our Power BI session. Enjoy. Really been a pleasure working with all of you today.